is our God. If you really believe that your God is great and mighty, I just want you to lift your hands. You can stay seated if you feel the necessity to, but if you think God is greater than that, you can stand to your feet. You can walk around. You can run. I just want to see if there's somebody that is present among us that will say, I will express with my body how great and mighty my God is. Because somebody woke up without the activity of their limbs today. And here I am with the ability to use my legs and to use my hands and to lift my arms and to know which arms are being lifted. I am conscious that my eyes are open and not shut. I can hear in both of my ears. I can feel the blood flowing through my body. I can feel the breath within my lungs. I can understand I am who I am. No matter what people have said about me, no matter what the enemy has set before me, God has kept me and God has covered me. I know things keep on happening and it seems like things just continue to happen over and over and over and over again. And the reality is I do have a lot to complain about. But when I think of the goodness of Jesus and all the things he's done for me, my soul cries out, hallelujah. I'm so grateful. I know things could be greater, but things could be worse. And I'm trusting God that by and by, when the morning comes, I'll be able to tell somebody I'm not where God met me. Because God is too faithful to leave you where he met you. Look at somebody today and say, God is too faithful.
God is too faithful
to leave you where he met you.
to leave you where he met you. My God, that's true.
It is clear that God is present, and we thank him for allowing us into his presence. To the angel of this house, our pastor, Pastor Mark and Clark, and First Lady Cynthia Clark, we thank them and we honor them. And I know they know we love them. We're not going to prolong this moment. If you would, meet me in the 5th chapter of John.
My goodness.
I do want to take this time to thank this wonderful clergy staff, dedicated deacons and trustworthy trustees, and our marvelous church mothers. Mother Moore is back in town today.
Hallelujah.
She was gone to check in on family. We had to let them know, okay, it's time for Mama to come on back. Because they think she's their mama. We know she's our mama. And we're grateful for traveling grace and mercy.
Yes, we are.
Many of the Abyssinian families have been traveling both for leisure and both for ministry. And we take it not for granted our ability to see you on today. We're very grateful to God, sustaining you and keeping you along the highways and byways of life.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you for your willingness to go and seek out when ministry calls. And we thank you for your ability to know when you need a vacation. So for those of you who have not taken one, you still have time before the fall gets here. Even if it's a staycation, just find a place and go gather your mind so you can have that peace which surpasses all understanding. We are in John the 5th chapter. When you get there, I want us to focus our attention on the 5th verse through the 10th verse. If you found it, say amen.
Amen.
If you're still seeking and turning, say mercy. Mercy has it. Again, we're going to be in John chapter 5, verses 5 through 10. And when you arrive, you will find words that read such as this: and a certain man
Yes, sir.
was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been there now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, someone say, while I am coming.
While I am coming.
Another steppeth down before me. Jesus saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately, someone say immediately, the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed.
My.
You can relax your word and you can take your seat. And as you're sitting, I want you to speak a word of proclamation or prophetic or declaration to who's ever to your left or to your right, or even if you have to turn around. I want you to look at them. Make sure they're looking at you. And tell them, God has more for you.
God has more for you. I receive it.
That's a word. Amen. Bless you, sir.
God has more for you.
Thank you. I received that, sir. Yes, sir.
We decree and declare that on today, and we don't even know what you had to go through to get here. And even if you are in the season of experiencing abundance, we still believe God has more for you.
Yes.
A certain man wakes up every day reminded of his unfortunate reality. Lame, paralyzed, incomplete, broken, pitied, pitiful, less than, inadequate, not a man, unable to do for himself. This is the shameful reality this certain man's mirror reflects for him. As his mirror provides a depiction of his position due to his condition. You don't have to sit that far back. He is seen by what he is,
All right.
rather than who he is. He is seen by what is wrong as opposed to being seen by what could be corrected. The text informs us that the place identified as the communal territory for this man is a place commonly filled with people who are impotent, blind, halted, and withered.
My goodness.
Therefore, when you look at the communal territory of this man's 38-year experience, you discover that this territory is not only filled with people who are impotent, blind, halted, and withered, but this territory also consists of abandonment, disenfranchisement, disloyalty, and marginalization. You see, with this common territory, common sense would suggest that this communal territory is a place that people would reasonably seek to leave. However, the text informs us that this place is the only place where this certain man is allowed to feel at home. This place is a place of abandonment, disenfranchisement, disloyalty, and marginalization, but this is the only place where this man is allowed to feel like somebody who belongs. This place is a place filled with sickness and disease, but yet it's the only place this man is allowed to call home based upon the opinions of other people. Look at your neighbor and ask him, do you know what it feels like to live in a stereotype?
Do you know what it feels to live in the Stereotype.
We're predicated upon what people see about you. That's the ceiling they place over your life. What it predicated upon how people view you is the way they determine whether you should be in the burbs, the hills, or the fields, or in the inner city. Do you understand that this man was living in a place that was desolate, that was dangerous, that was dirty, but yet it's the only place he's allowed to feel at home.
My goodness.
Which now brings to the forefront the theological perplexity of the I am that I am.
Come on now.
The answer to all things. Posing a question of permission to one who has the value of his life determined by his condition in the sight of other people.
Preaching, man.
People of God, the theological perplexity of Jesus posing a question of permission introduces us to the gracious reality that Jesus doesn't always see us the way we or other people see us.
Yeah.
When Jesus saw him laying there and knew he had been there a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Wilt thou be made whole?" The question Jesus poses is to this man holds the confession that Jesus can do for the man whatever the man needs, wants, or desires. Yet Jesus is so graceful in his almightiness, he doesn't take the sovereign liberty which he does have in doing for the man what the man needs, but instead he asks him. And when Jesus asked this man the question, "Will you be made whole?" This man now has to make a decision. Do I continue to see myself the way things have been? Or do I see myself by the way things could be? This man had a decision to make. And people of God, there are going to be moments where instead of God intervening, God will investigate. The question was not wondering if God could make him whole.
Yeah.
For the question possesses that God holds the ability to make him whole. And it wasn't about if God could do it. It wasn't about if God was powerful enough to do it. It wasn't about if God was capable enough to do it. It was about God can do it. The question is, do I have your permission? God wants to know, do I have your permission to come into your life and replace your brokenness with blessings? Do I have your permission on today to turn your tragedy into triumph? Or do you rather prefer to dwell in your brokenness? Do you prefer to dwell in your destruction? Do you prefer to dwell where you no longer want to be because it's easier that way?
My goodness. Challenges, Pastor.
And the reason God investigates is because God wants to see, has your condition contaminated your capacity to ask of God things beyond the position that your condition has relegated you to? Predicated on the way things are. Has the way things been, and you know you don't want them to be that way, has that told you you're not worthy to receive the most from God? Has what you've been dealing with kept you from conversing with God? Has what you've been going through kept you from talking to God? Has what you've been facing kept you separated from God? You know those moments where you've been contaminated by condition. God, if you can just get me out of this time. That's a capacity contaminated by condition. God, I know the last time I said it was the last time. But that's a capacity contaminated by condition. God, I don't want a whole lot. I just got something I need to bring to your attention. That's a capacity contaminated by condition. Because a contaminated free capacity has the audacity to ask for it all. You see, when you have not had your capacity contaminated by what you've been going through, you don't begin prefacing prefacing what you might ask God for. You just have the audacity to ask God for some things other people would have said you ain't worthy enough to have. You ask God for some things other people have to do that you don't qualify for. You see, God, I'm broken, and your word has declared to me that you are a healer, and I need you to heal my body. I need you to heal my legs, my feet, my hands, my lungs, my kidneys, my heart, my eyes, and my mouth. I need you to stop and remove the migraines. I need you to stop and remove the stomach pains. I need you to stop and remove the arthritis. But God, I can't afford for you to stop right there, because not only are you a healer, because my capacity has not been contaminated by my condition, I also know that your word has said that you are a redeemer, which means you have the ability to reclaim and to restore. With that being said, God, I need you to heal, reclaim, and restore my bank account. I need you to heal, reclaim, and restore my summer body. I need you to heal, reclaim, and restore the order of my family, so that the oil you pour upon my head can stop falling to the floor and begin falling upon the heads of those who come from me, that their children's children may be blessed. I don't just want me to be blessed. I want to be blessed. I want my children blessed. I want my children's children blessed. I want my children's children's children blessed, because you are the God of generations, and your word has declared the Lord shall increase you more and more, you and your children. A contaminated free capacity praises God that God doesn't always see us how we see us. God doesn't see us always as other people see us. And because he doesn't, I can lift up my hands and say, thank you, God. Now that you see me, and now that I see me the way that you see me, open my eyes and help me to see. I am what you see. Will thou be made whole? The impotent man says to Jesus, Sir, I have no one when the water is troubled to help me into the pool. Because while I'm coming to the water, someone else steps in before me. This is a free nugget, people of God. The reality is, in order to get what you want, you can't be stuck in the same spot. The Bible says the man is impotent. It doesn't go into detail nor specificity. Which means when we take the liberty of saying that the man was lame or paralyzed, we're not incorrect. We're just really speaking out of hypothesis, because the word doesn't necessarily give us exactly what's wrong with him.
Come on now, come on.
But because God is so God understands that the word impotent can mean a whole lot of stuff. The reality is, the possibility is there's a whole lot of stuff wrong with him. There's a whole lot of stuff that's keeping him from being seen as a regular human being. But we're going to today use what most people use in the culture, and we just going to conclude that he doesn't have the ability to walk to the water. I'm not going to say he's paralyzed. I'm not going to say he's lame. I'm going to allow you to use whatever weakness or inability that you associate with impotence. But I'm going to say he's unable to completely transport himself from point A to point B in an unhindered state that he may experience what he needs. That way you can't say co-pastor was judging me today. We're going to just talk about sin. We're not going to talk about your sin. We ain't going to talk about my sin. We're just going to talk about sin. And the good thing about talking about sin is that when you talk about sin, you know we're talking about everybody. For the word declares they all have sinned. Which means you can act like you all that holy and you ain't you. For we all have sinned.
Yeah, Reverend.
And it was the talk. It ain't a past tense for everybody. I'm just talking about me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to you. All have sinned ain't past tense for everybody.
Yeah.
Some of us are still seeking righteousness. And we've been afforded by grace to have some righteous moments.
Yeah.
It says the man responds to Jesus, and I love his response. Because when Jesus asks him, will you be made whole? He doesn't say yes or no. But he does something that's really hard for us to do. He honors Jesus' question. And he honors the question by affirming Jesus' investigation. Again, we already stated that when Jesus poses the question, wilt thou be made whole? In that question is the confession of Jesus that I can do what I'm asking.
All right.
But Jesus went and asked that question in investigation because he wanted to make sure that this man's condition had not contaminated his capacity. And the man's response to Jesus proved that his capacity had not been contaminated by his condition. Why did you say that, Pastor B? Because he says, I know my communal territory. I know where we having this conversation at. Indicates that I am the byproduct of destitute living. But I'm not seeking pity.
Come on, sir. It is what it is.
It's not often in Scripture we encounter people who don't know God but honor God.
All right. All right, sir.
Don't know him, but honor.
What do you mean by that? If he would have known that the man talking to him was Jesus, he would have immediately said yes. But because he had been marginalized for so long,
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, sir.
he had the fortitude on the inside that says, a man is talking to me. And because of my impotence, he's not only talking to me, but he's talking to me as he's looking down at me.
My goodness.
It's not that he has concluded he's better than me.
Yeah.
But based upon my position, there's a chance in my psyche he might think he's better than me. So while he may think that, let me affirm something to him. I'm not looking for your pity. You see, most times people in that situation can't wait to use pity. If I can get people to feel bad for me, they'll give something to me. But I've discovered in life, I've lived long enough to realize that people are more likely to give to those who can give for themselves.
Yes, they will.
You see, when I was growing up, we had what was called allowance.
My God.
Started getting allowance probably 11 years old. Allowance came from chores,
That's right.
Yes, sir. They did.
which means Pastor B was introduced to grace long before he realized who God was. Because I was still getting allowances and I hadn't completed all my chores. But I discovered that when you keep getting allowances without getting your chores done, there's these things called punishment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I discovered that while grace was being extended, penalty was building up.
Come on, sir.
Yeah, that's a
That's why you have to be careful that the wages of sin
Yeah.
is death.
That's right.
Which means that's why we have to pay attention to things like recidivism. You see, God can forgive you for the things that you've done. You may be saved from the death, but that don't erase the consequences.
Consequences.
You got to understand that I understood at that early age that grace is good,
Yeah.
but grace with obedience is better.
Yes, sir. Grace with obedience.
This man says, I'm not looking for your pity. You see, when the water is stirred up, I come. And I know that's probably a contradiction for what you see because it looks like I'm not able to come.
All right.
He said, I come, but my condition slows me down.
Yeah.
He says, I'm so determined to outlive my condition, I don't allow my condition to keep me stationary.
Yeah.
But my condition is so my condition, it slows me down and it makes it look like I ain't put forth an effort. But I come out and let you know today that God honors your effort.
Yes, he does.
God honors your attempt. How do you know, Pastor B? Because the word of God says for 38 years this man had this infirmity. It does not say that the man was 38 years old, which implies for us that this man was perhaps older than the age of 38, which means he wasn't always in the state that he is in now, which means he was living normally and then something happened, which caused him to now live abnormally. And so what happens is, he says, I'm trying to get back to the place I used to be, but the only thing that's happening now is I'm not the age I used to be, which means it's not as easy to get around anymore. And I see some people at my age not able to get around easily standing up. So you can only imagine how difficult it has to be to get from point A to point B, and I can't ever get myself off the ground. But yet and still, when I see the season of changing happening, I make it my business to put forth my best effort to get into my new identity. He says, I've been fighting, scratching, clawing, and crawling to get my new identity.
Yeah.
But my condition, my abandonment, my disenfranchisement, my inability to be seen as worthy or equal, my condition slows me down. And someone, instead of helping me, walks over me and gets my new identity. Have you ever been there in your life where you felt like everybody was being blessed but you? I'm sorry, that might be too broad. Can we be real on today? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like God gave somebody your blessing? You ever felt like God gave somebody your house? You ever felt like God gave somebody your car? Yeah. You ain't never been there? I've been there. I've been there where I thought somebody was living my glory. I've had moments in life where I'm just looking at God, not saying nothing. People say, you looking at this? No. I exercise faith, usually at the wrong times. I'm believing in the spirit. God, you done gave somebody the goodness of my story. You gave me the bad part. I thought we was done with this. I need that part. We need to switch this, turn it around. We need a Freaky Friday experience because they got my life. You ain't never been there? Well, I tell you, don't worry.
Be easy on us, sir.
Because one day you will. One day you're going to get there and you're going to say, somebody living my blessing. And I know you don't want to say amen to that because that seems like a scary place to be. But when you have real church, you find out there's somebody in your section that says, I've been there.
Yeah.
But I also know what it means to no longer be there.
Yeah.
You see, I've been there, but I can tell you about what it means to not be there. Because God has a desire of not leaving you where he found you. It's not that God has the ability. It's not that God has the capability. It's not that God has the gift, the skill, or the talent to do it. But God has the desire for you not to be where he found you. But we open today's text with Jesus asking the question, will you be made whole? I can desire for you to be whole, but you gotta want it. So Jesus, in all his omnipotence, poses a question of permission. Can I? Can I bless you? Can I heal you? Can I exalt you? Can I promote you? Can I elevate you? Can I provide you with the abundance of life? Can I give you life and life more abundantly? Can I? May I? Will you have me? May I have this dance? this place. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a nightmare.
Lord Jesus. Lord.
It was simply reality. And within reality is the process. And the process is oftentimes the miracle.
Yeah.
The process, though sometimes hard,
Yes.
is always fair.
Uh-huh.
And the process is simply, don't be where God first found you.
Goodness.
You see, this man went through a 38-year process of incomplete, yet relentless pursuit of outliving his condition. Last week, Elder Foreman reminded us that our purpose is bigger than our pain.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
And here we are this week. And a certain man
Yeah.
informs us that we ought to not be stuck where God first found us.
All right.
God.
This man's response to the theological perplexity of Jesus asking permission to intervene.
Yeah, Pastor.
It moves Jesus from investigation to exploration.
Yeah.
Exploration is the action of traveling in or through an unfamiliar area in order to learn about it. You see, Jesus is a master of exploring. He's already traveled to the depths of the unknown. But he was doing the exploration not for himself, but he did it to the benefit of this certain man, this nameless man. Because with the journey, it allows this man to confess for himself, I no longer desire to remain in the place that I am. I no longer desire for things to be as they have been. For Lord, I'm ready for a new thing. And the discovery of the exploration leads us to the culmination of intervention that renders the sentiments that Jesus will work it out if only you let him. Jesus says to the man, after the man responds so elegantly to him, rise, take up your bed and walk. And the Bible says immediately the man was made whole, took up his bed and walked. The Bible says some people were upset that this man received his healing on the wrong day. But I come by today to let you know that everybody ain't looking forward to the new things God is getting ready to do in your life. Everybody won't celebrate the fact that you received from God. But don't worry yourself about what other people say or how they feel, because what God has for you, it is for you. Turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor, when I go home today, I'm going home to make room for the new things God got for me. When I go home, I'm going to ask for some things, because those who ask, they shall receive. When I go home, I'm going to play For the cost of my new thing is more valuable than money, silver and gold. For the price of my new thing was paid with the life. One Friday on a hill called Calvary, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And that Friday, Jesus was hung up high, stretched out wide, nails in his hands, nails in his feet, a crown of thorns upon his head, a spear placed in his side. And does anybody know what Jesus did on that cross, on that Friday? Turn to your neighbor and say, he died. He died for you and me. He died until the sun refused to shine. He died until the moon filled with blood. He died until the earth rocked and reeled like a drunken man. He died until one centurion said to the other, surely this is the Son of God. But does anybody know that that's not how my story is? Right on!
Come on, Reverend.
Bright early Sunday morning, Jesus got up with all power, all power in his hands. Lift your hands toward the heaven, because the same hands that holds the power are the same hands covering your life, are the same hands that's going to put the newness in your house, in your family, in your life. I dare somebody to say, God is. God is. God is. He is all right. Say I. God has more for you. Put your hand on somebody's hand and tell them God has more for you. I know things